Hi, Sean. I guess spirits are pretty high after the other night. I know you lost to Manchester United, but you played well, didn't you?
Yeah, I think we're on a decent run in general. And Man United went top, which shows the powerful form they're in. But I thought we gave a good performance, a strong performance, in fact, against, arguably, certainly on current form, the best team in the country. Who knows at the end of the season? But no, I thought it was a very good performance, a very thorough performance. We did all the basics well. But we also created chances, and that's something that we've got to keep doing, of course.
Just looking at the table, Sean, you're in a fairly healthy position in terms of your position, but also games played as well. You've got a game or two in hand over the others. That must please you.
Well, from where we were very early season, obviously, a lot of challenges we had, mainly with injuries and other things as well, but the injuries certainly affected our beginning to the season, I felt. The group's getting stronger. I have remarked upon that with the group as well, not just with the media. When they look around, all of a sudden there's some very good players around them who are fit now, and some of them need a bit more sharpness, but they are getting there. So I think that's pleasing, and that's had a knock-on effect, I think, with performance levels. And it's one of my many obsessions. If you get your performance levels right over a season, then you will win games. So I think the work is increasing for the players, what they are doing, what they're delivering, and now we've got to look at that consistency. To take them kind of performances all over the country, home and away. I think we've shown in this last run of games we are getting towards that, and now we've got to keep working for that.
Am I right in saying, Sean, that the new owner is he still self-isolating?
There's a couple of COVID situations around the club, not necessarily in the camp, but yeah, they're just getting well now and recovering. They should be fine though.
How is the fact that the new owner is still self-isolating, how has that affected your guys' relationship? I believe you haven't met face-to-face yet.
Yeah, it doesn't really have any effect. I think a lot of things were, over the last, 9-10 months have been done by Zoom and, FaceTime and I've done many presentations and conversations and media, of course. So I don't think there's any big drama in that. I think we've all got used to the way the current world situation is, in our own lives and in our professional lives as well. So, no, the dialogue's been good. The dialogue's been open. They're still finding their feet with what the club really is. It's all right buying it, but you get used to it once you're in there. And that's been difficult from their point of view, obviously, because they can't, get in the offices and mix freely with everyone and kind of get that feel for people. But that'll come over time.
And apologies if you've been asked this before, but does the change in ownership have any effect in the transfer window? Does it change the way that you operate in this window?
Well, I think it will change the way in the sense that they'll want certain different ways of working, different alignments of how they see fit to work on the idea of communication, particularly amongst ourselves and themselves, and how we can build on that. The financial model of the club has always been, to make sure it's in good health and good shape. I don't think that's going to radically change. I think, the early messages are about building on what we're doing, not kind of ripping it up and starting again. So I think that's the way the intention is. It does at some point need some financial input, quite obviously. If that comes in January to make sure we can try and do something, we will. But it's not always about money. I've said it all, the last couple of weeks. The January transfer window, unless you're the superpowers and you throw such big money at things, it's not always about that. It's about the alignment of the right people at the right time and if they're available.
Just a story that we've put out, I think, actually this morning, the Union Berliner have made a loan offer for Matej Vidra. Is there anything you can tell us on that?
Nope.
So nothing happening, or just you're not telling us?
No, I thought it was a good clue when I said no. There was nothing to tell you. I mean, I can say it again if you'd like, but no, there's nothing to tell you. We've been asked a million questions about a million situations. Well, not literally, obviously, but no, there's nothing to say on that.
Thank you, Keith. As you're aware, there's a bit of a delay in the line today, but we're getting there. We'll Sam next at PLP, and again, I'd like to ask everybody just to keep moving on quickly. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hey, Sean. Just one on West Ham, really. Having a fairly solid start to the season, aren't they? What have you made of them so far?
I think solid's a good way of describing it. I think, from the outside looking in, I've known David Moyes and his staff a number of years, and, I think they have got a slightly more solid look about them generally, the shape and the basics, if you like. I think, in my experiences of knowing David for a long time in his teams, that's often the case. I don't think anyone's questioned whether they've got some good players, because they have. Virtually everyone in the Premier League has, of course. It's tying it all together. So I don't think there's a massive surprise that they are having, as you described, a solid season. They'll want to, correct a little bumpy patch, with not as many wins in the last few, probably 6 games. I think they've had 1 in 5 or 6 games. But I don't think we never underestimate anyone, going down there and all that comes with that. So it's another challenge for us, without a doubt.
I know you'd like a few more goals going forward, but you've been fairly solid at the back yourselves. I think only 5 teams in the Premier League have conceded less goals than Burnley so far. Is it a case of maybe just 1 more goal per game? I mean, that would have really given you a few more points, wouldn't it? I guess if you're looking at the results against Villa and Leeds and Everton, you get an extra goal against them, you're looking at an extra 7 points. Is it one of those where you feel like you're close now? You're close to having a really strong season?
Well, it sounds so easy when you talk about it. It's not easy when they get out there playing. The balance that every manager wants, every coach wants, every player wants, actually. Can you defend one end and score in the other? It's as brutal as that sometimes, or as simple as that. We've shown better signs of that over the last run of games. We certainly, even against Man United, created 2 or 3 very, very good chances from varying ways of operating as well. We like that. We want to be effective in our football. And I think we've done that increasingly well as the season progresses. So we've got to look to do that again. But I certainly don't overthink what's gone. I try and make sense of it with the players, but we learn from that. We move forward. So it's not about what's gone. It's about what comes next.
Just one more from me, Sean, and apologies to throw social media jargon at you, but Jay Rodriguez yesterday on Twitter offering to personally help any fans that are struggling at the moment. He opened up his DMs, which I think is a first for a Premier League footballer. It's a brilliant gesture. Just your thoughts on that, and maybe how proud you've been overall of your squad during this time.
Well, it's an open gesture. I think players are allowed to do that quite obviously. There's a lot goes behind that, by the way. It's some players are open with gestures and things they do. Some players are private with it. Many different ways of operating to help people. We've helped the food bank in Burnley and the like as a collective here, and other things. But yeah, he's one of them lads. Actually, he's very open with himself and how he feels about things, and are willing to put himself out there if help is needed. I think football in general, for every one story of someone making a silly mistake with COVID or whatever, I think there's 1,000 of people, 1,000 stories of positivity around football, and all the requests we're all attempting to make. No one's purer than pure. Everyone makes mistakes, but it's just that they seem to get highlighted in football. The good stuff doesn't always get highlighted. So I'm pleased you have highlighted that, because there is a lot of good going on in football to try and help people, but equally just to try and do things right. And certainly in the professional side of it, and what we have to do to be within the guidelines that the Premier League have set down.
Thanks, Sean.
Thanks.
Thank you, Sam. Scott, Abuse Radio Lancs. Afternoon, Scott.
Hi. Sean, just that win last season down at West Ham, which was behind closed doors, I thought it was a terrific win, wasn't it? It was a really kind of strong performance there. That kind of stood out for me. I don't know whether you'd agree or not.
We've had a few down there over the last few seasons, actually. When we've done very well, we've taken on the challenge. It always is, as every Premier League ground that you go to is. I think the mentality currently is very good. The players are organised. They know that side of the game. We've operated in a certain way for a while, and they know how to adapt to different situations from the opposition, and that was definitely shown against Manchester United, who have been free flowing and free scoring, and I think we limited them to not many good chances. That doesn't guarantee the next one, though. There's good work done over a number of games now, but we've got to make sure that we apply ourselves to this one, because, as suggested earlier, West Ham at the least are having a solid season, if not a slightly better season than that, and have had some really good days. So we've got to make sure that we're delivering a performance, and I think that's going to be the mentality going into the game.
because of the size of the stadium, Sean, last season when it was being played behind closed doors, was it the most unusual atmosphere because the pitch is right in the middle of this big, vast stadium? I just wonder what your experience and your memories were of that game last season.
To be honest, it's a slightly unusual ground anyway, in the sense of that, the distance from the pitch to the terracing, etc., etc. So no, I don't think it was that peculiar. You get used to it. You, like anything in life, you adapt to the challenge that's right in front of you. Adapt to the environment you're in. And I think we've done that pretty well, as have lots of other teams, by the way. Everyone's taken on the challenge with empty stadiums and etc. We know it's not ideal, but the world's not ideal at the moment. So we're hoping for better times ahead, but we just get on with it, whatever is laid out in front of us.
You've had Jack Cork back in and around your team for the last few games. Obviously, a real boost. Is that a different challenge for him now to try and force his way back into a team, into a position where, for example, Josh Brown has done so well for you?
It is, but I think there's a reality in the group here. There's also a bond within the group. They're pretty rounded, this group. They know when people are playing well. They know when they can knock my door and at least put doubt in my mind, by saying, look, Gaffer, I'm ready. And at the moment, the two midfield players have done very well this season in Westy and Brownlee. I mean, extremely well, in fact. So, I think Corky will be respectful of that. He wants to play like every player does. And at some point down the season, them chances come for different players. There's some good players here. I've always believed in them, despite all the noise around the transfers, etc., etc. I've always maintained that when everyone's fit, which we're nearly there now, when everyone's fit and well and operating, then I think we're a good outfit. And it doesn't mean we're the real deal by any means, but I think we're a decent outfit and we can take on the challenge that is the Premier League.
And just finally, on Josh in particular, the fact that Jack is now fit and there's a direct competition there for his place, he's been terrific for you. Are you hoping that perhaps he can even take this on another level again?
Well, I've talked about in-house competitive spirit, not just the fact you've got to beat the opposition, but there's an in-house competitive spirit. And I think it raises the bar in training, it raises the feel of a group, because everyone wants a shirt and that's how it should be. And I think they're respectful in that and they work hard here to get that shirt. And then it's about finding that kind of line between relaxing enough to deliver a performance, but knowing there's a demand on you, not just from me and the coaches, but your own demand as well, but also the players around you. And I think that brings for a healthy group of players trying to succeed.
Cool. Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott, for the brevity. Alex Howell at BBC Sport, have you got a quick question, please?
Hi, Sean. I know you touched on it there, but on team news, is everyone fit and well?
Charlie Taylor is a doubt. He's a maybe. Other than that, everyone's just about there now. Like I say, a couple searching for true fitness, as in that high level Premier League fitness, but they're fit and able. So the squad's coming back together now.
And this week, the club launched a partnership with a new app and a global talent search for young players. Have you had a chance to look at it, and do you think it can work?
I haven't yet. I saw the news about it. There'll be more details coming into my side of things. But to be fair, it's, I'll only have a general view of that anyway, because it's not going to impact straight away into the world that I live in regarding the first team. It's more for the recruitment side of the club, obviously. So, I'll let them deal with that.
And finally, there's been a lot made of players and the new protocols not celebrating. Have you had to speak about that to your players, and do you think it's realistic for players to not celebrate after scoring?
Well, first of all, to celebrate, you've got to score some goals. So we need to score some goals first before we worry about anything else. Behind that, look, it's a tough one, isn't it? Let's face it, it's a human reaction. You're in the moment. If the players can, resist that moment, then they're probably going to have to. They're the guidelines. I just think it's a tough call, that, and like I say, there's certain times, I know it sounds crazy, but during a game, every goal is worth celebrating. But if it's early in the game, it can maybe be different. But imagine someone scoring a last-minute goal or whatever, and it means so much. It's really difficult. We can only advise the players and ask them to remember that moment, if they can, to make sure they keep their distance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Eleanor at PA, anything from you, Eleanor?
Hi, Sean.
Hiya.
You were talking the other day about players coming back from the 10-day isolation and sort of having to monitor that. So how happy have you been with the way that those players have come back, and have you got any reservations about them playing a string of games?
Yeah, I mean, the idea of when they're away, obviously it does depend on the illness side of things, because as we all know now, some of the COVID positives have been, well, if any symptoms, whereas others have had real symptoms. So I think that has to be factored in. The protocols from the medical side are dealt with by our doctor and our medical team. So I think it's a varying on how bad it hits you. If you get a real hit of it, then it's fair to say it's probably a recovery period beyond the fact that it's COVID, but just mean a physical recovery period. If you're one of the people who has no symptoms at all, then, there's some kind of tick over that you can at least achieve in private, obviously, and then be ready somewhat to pick up the challenge again. I don't think it's ideal, but nothing's ideal at the minute. I think we're all working the best we can to do the right things and keep the players fit when we can, give them the work that's needed when we can, as long as they're safe, obviously.
Have any of the players been badly affected by it symptoms-wise?
Not other than what seems to be the most part, pleasingly, of course, is that this kind of flu-type feeling. We haven't had anyone who's beyond that, just really feeling off and a bit, like flu really. For I think the worst we probably had is maybe 2 or 3 days of that feeling, and then coming out of that pretty quickly. Enough to certainly, forgetting about the fact it's COVID, the spread. If it was just a flu, let's say, and not that, they wouldn't be in the training ground anyway, because they wouldn't be well enough to do so. But nothing too serious, nothing that scared anyone, just the main symptoms of a flu-like feeling.
Yeah, and you had Dwight back as a sub the other day. So how much of a help is that to the creativity of your side? Yeah,
really good player. We know that he's worked ever so hard to get over his injury. We're being slightly careful from our point of view because he's a very good player, and it's probably the first time he's been injured for a long, long time. So just being cautious of that. And every time we get someone fit, we have lost someone. So we're trying to make sure they almost get overly fit, if there is such a thing, so they're ready for task rather than stretching them too early and then someone breaking down again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Elva. Just lastly for this section, Alex James again, if we can just keep it tight. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, Pete. Hi, Sean.
Hi.
How you doing? Just on James Tarkowski, you mentioned him post-match on Tuesday. Obviously, he was linked with West Ham quite extensively in the summer. How pleased have you been that he's been able to sort of put that to one side and not only in his ability on the pitch, but mentally as well, get back to the levels he showed last season and indeed since he's come into the team for Burnley?
Yeah, no surprise to me. He's a very solid professional, solid person as well. Done very well in his time here and continues to do so.
You braced for more sort of interest in him over the coming weeks or perhaps over into the summer?
No. It's not relevant to us. We know the situation we're in as a club.
And just on his contract, I think he sort of made reference to turning down a couple of offers. That was pre-takeover. Do you think that might have any impact on whether you can go back to him and revisit that in the coming weeks or months?
We always, as I've said 1,000 times, we have good dialogue, with the players and their agents here. We've done that all the time that we've been here, and it's something that I've insisted the club attempt to keep alive. Obviously some situations go quiet, but we always try and be open with the agents. I certainly do, and with the players. So James and many other players here, they know where they stand.
And just lastly from me, a lot's been sort of hinted or suggested that perhaps moves into overseas markets might be more easier to come by under ALK now. Is somebody like Sebastian Haller at West Ham and other players who have been bought for big money and that sort of shows the risks associated with that, I guess, in terms of being ready for the Premier League and settling in, given that they've had to sort of take a £20 million hit on that?
We don't look at any other players and the business of any other club. We look at our own club and our own players and our own business. So that's to clear that one up. What we do try and focus on is good players. It doesn't matter where they're from. It's getting good players at the right level for this club financially, and that won't change. That's part of the club's fabric, if you like. So I don't think the group that have come in are going to suddenly rip that up. I think they're just going to try and build on that and keep looking for the right players, keep looking to recruit the right players. I've said for many years, it's often misrepresented here. I take players from anywhere in the world. If they're good players and they can be effective here and grow into what the club do, then it doesn't matter where they're from. It's more about how good they are.